CD92.9 Independent Radio from right here in Columbus. Today we have Courtney Barnett on the line, the one and only. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure, to be sure. It's a joy to see you again in any capacity. My perception of time having been kind of wrecked over the last couple of years, it's hard to believe it's already been 6 years since your performance here on the stage back in 2016. You were on your way to Nelsonville Music Festival.
Oh my gosh, Nelsonville.
Yeah, one of my favorite concert memories, pressed up against the rail in the front row for that set.
Oh, nice.
Plenty of shows since then and plenty of great music released as well, including last year's album, Things Take Time, an album that kind of surprised me sonically alongside a bunch of other fans as well, as it was a bit of a departure from your previous couple of records in terms of sound. But I'm happy that I wasn't alone in recognizing some of the parallels with the new record and your EPs. And it kind of fascinated me to see how much that actually had to do with one another. The EPs written in a home, and now by necessity, a lot of these songs also came together in a home. Would you say that location had a good bit to do with that sonic change?
Yeah, I think that always, makes an effect. Just that kind of similar energy, maybe. It definitely... It sounded how it sounded in my head, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. I heard a lot of these songs written on acoustic guitar and then taken into the studio a little bit later. I also heard that you had a lot more time with the demos before taking them into the studio. Did that have any effect on maybe how they sounded when they came out, how they sounded in your head, getting that time with it?
Yeah, I think the thing I just keep learning over the years of writing and recording music is that it just kind of continues to be a mystery. Like you never quite know where something is going to end up. Even my last album, I remember I wrote a lot of the songs on piano, and I thought it was going to be this kind of piano heavy drumless album, and then it ended up being like one of the loudest albums I ever made. And then after touring that for a while, I think I just was like, I just can't do loud, very, very loud music right now. And I wanted to make something a little bit more peaceful. And even going into the studio with some of these songs, they ended up in a completely different place to where they started off. So just never kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I like how you describe the songs coming to you in sort of a mystical sense. And I've also liked how you've described in the past, like the demo versions of the songs and songs that you've had to quote unquote throw away. As someone who struggles with their own creative outlet in that way, I know that it's not unusual for an artist to have, say, 1,000 demos and 10 get released. I tend to focus on those 990 in my head as like some sort of failure, but I understand you don't look at it that way.
No, I think it's definitely, I can understand the feeling, but I think it's useful to just see them as part of the bigger process. And sometimes you wouldn't get to the good song if you hadn't written like a handful of songs that didn't quite get there, Yeah. So they're useful.
Yeah, I think that's extremely wise and something that I'll try and take with me on my own journey. Again, if I haven't said it again, the album turned out great, one of my favorite records of 2021. I encourage all of our listeners, if they haven't heard it yet, to go listen to it. The amazing new album from Courtney Barnett is Things Take Time, an album where the title really means a lot, not only in terms of like temporal space. You had a lot of time with the demos themselves before going into the studio, but also about the things in life that kind of take time, including a lot of personal growth, which you've gone through a ton of over the last few years. I know we only have a short time together, not to pry or get too deep into the weeds, but would you be able to elaborate a little bit on the paradigm shift of sorts that you went through over the last few years?
I guess we're kind of constantly going through different, changes and different kind of life lessons. And I guess in a way, it's just another kind of stepping stone. Each album seems like a kind of document of like a certain period in my life, and a lot of reflection time and a lot of kind of growth. I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. As I guess it often is, and in such an abstract sort of conceptual way. But you said to Consequence of Sound that your self-esteem was low on the last record, and on this record it was just good. Sort of optimism there, did that lend itself to a lot of the songwriting that came together? I know there's a lot of, I hate to paint it in a melancholy light because the theme of the record is, joy in some sense.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I mean, I think it's a push and pull between those moods. It's not like joy. Well, I mean, it does feel like a very joyful album, but that's not to say that, it avoids any like investigation of like more like negative brain space. I think a lot of it is just like trying to find the balance between those two things and how to like pull yourself out of that.
Yeah, and I think it comes across as an authentic journey throughout that whole circle of everything that it takes, time included, to come to those sort of realizations. One of the songs on the record that inspires a lot of joy within me is, of course, the song "Write a List of Things to Look Forward to," which has inspired me and a ton of others to start a real list. If you're willing to share, again, I don't mean to pry too much, can I ask, is there something on your list that you're looking forward to the most right now?
Looking forward to to playing these shows. Like it's I think a whole new kind of level of gratitude for playing and touring and playing these new songs. When I think back to how they started and seeing how they kind of grew over time, that'll be a really fun thing.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it too. It's certainly close to the top of my list again. This Wednesday at Kemba Live here in Columbus. About the show, I would like to ask about something that I noticed on the ticket page, that you've partnered with a charity, a portion of the proceeds supporting Indigenous-led organizations working for equity, justice, and community development. This is a cause that I imagine is important to you.
Yeah, I think I've been following them for a few years now, and it's just a very small kind of way that we can kind of share some income and kind of pay back and pay forward. And I just think it's an important organization, and just to spread the word as well.
Important cause, a good show for a good cause again. Again, this Wednesday at Kemba Live. I could talk to you about the new record and the show all day, but there's one more thing that I want to touch on before we start to wrap things up this afternoon, is the new upcoming film, which is really fascinating, called Anonymous Club. Speaking of your earlier EPs a couple of moments ago, one of the song titles lending its name to this documentary kind of tour bio, kind of life biopic over the course of 2 years. Camera followed you around, and 20 hours of your voice into an old-fashioned dictaphone narrates the film.
Yeah.
I imagine you've seen it. Is it weird to watch over the course of 2 years of your life like that?
Yeah, it was very strange to watch back, actually. Quite confronting, seeing yourself through someone else's eyes. And Danny Cohen, who made the film, he's a dear friend of mine, and he joined us on tour over the course of like two or 3 years, the last album tour. He kind of captured what he saw and documented that time, and I think he did a really beautiful job. It's funny, it's sad, it's got music.
Nice.
Something for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I'm very eager to see it. I think that's a thing that takes a lot of courage that's involved in being so open and genuine like that. I can't imagine it was an easy thing to have been an open book for that amount of time. And excited to see it when we get an opportunity here in the States. I understand it's out in Australia next month. Again, Anonymous Club. We'll be looking forward to that with much anticipation. Again, Courtney Barnett joining us, playing on Wednesday at Kemba Live. Things Take Time is out now. One more thing before we cut you loose. I do like to run everybody through a lightning round here at the end. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Sure, yeah.
All right. Question number 1. Have you had a cup of coffee today?
Yes.
How did you take the coffee?
With some oat milk.
Nice. I'm also an oat milk man. Does your order change by the day?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Depending on how the feeling is. I love it. This one isn't very lightning roundy of me, but I couldn't figure out where else to put it. I was stoked to see your inspiration during lockdown coming from film, specifically Agnes Varda and Tarkovsky that you mentioned. Cleo from 5 to 7 and Ivan's Childhood are a couple of my favorite films personally. Was wondering if you had any recommendations or if it's just the whole genre that pulls you in.
I've enjoyed Stalker a lot. I feel like I watch so many films.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, just diving back into anything that they put out is such a vibe. Similarly, I was happy to see Arthur Russell in the ether of influence, perhaps, while you made this record. Do you have a favorite Arthur Russell song or record?
I was doing a cover of I Never Get Lonesome, for a little while. I really love that song. Like all of his songs sound so different, and all the albums sound so different. It's like there's a different album for every mood.
Yeah, yeah. I heard the great writer Scott Woods ask this question, credit where it's due. Do you have a favorite chord?
I quite like the C sharp minor.
It fits. Yeah.
But otherwise, I feel like G was like a favorite chord on this album.
Oh, right. Yeah.
B major.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
A couple listener questions here. One from Jorge. He's a deadhead that found you through the new Speedway Boogie cover. We all know that you're an inspiration to many on guitar. Jorge wants to know, who are your inspirations on guitar? Any favorite players come to mind?
Well, I mean, as a kid, it was Jimi Hendrix. I feel like a lot of people making music at the moment are like Ellen from Palehound, Melina from J-Som. So many amazing guitar players.
Yeah, that's great. And I like Jimi Hendrix, a fellow lefty.
Yeah,
cool
true.
All right, a couple more here. A listener question from Alejandro. Do you prefer writing with a pen or a pencil?
Pencil.
This is a listener question from Hunter. She plans to be front row on Wednesday. Asks whether the Cooking with Courtney Cookbook is ever going to come out. Hit shelves.
Maybe.
The people want to know what's going on in Courtney's kitchen. And lastly, a question that I like to ask everybody. I'm working on a map, testing your geography here. What is the prettiest American state, in your opinion? By outline alone, which one has the best shape? I'll open this up to Australian territories as well. Is there any shape that stands out on a map to you?
Oh, wow. I mean, no, my brain does not hold those kind of details. The only one I can think of is Texas, because I feel like that is like often on things as an outline.
Yeah, they're very proud of the shape of their state.
An iconic outline.
That's the first time I've gotten no answer, and I think that's cooler than having an answer right away. I love it.
You know what? In Australia, though, it's probably Tasmania, the little island that's down the bottom. And I used to live there, and often it gets left off maps, and people get very upset. Rightly so.
Yeah, I've seen online communities dedicated to that. Maps Without New Zealand as well, I know is a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much, Courtney Barnett, for taking the time to talk with us here down in Columbus. And we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Can't wait. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Hey, thanks for checking this video out. We're CD9029 in Columbus, Ohio, one of the last independently operated live and local radio stations left in the entire United States. And we'd be so grateful for your support. If you want to stick around, just hit subscribe and check out some of the in-depth interviews with many more on the way. Live performances from this very stage, so many of them exclusively on this channel. We hope that you can stick around